Rich. I am a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and I work here at Mainline Nutrition. So today's topic, I wanted to discuss mindfully munching. So when you kind of think about munching mindfully, what comes to mind? So I will tell you some things that I hear from our clients, and even things that I've even experienced from my family and myself. And then let's talk about some different things that we can do to make sure that we are being more mindful when we are consuming food. So first and foremost, a lot of times we are on the go, and we don't even realize that maybe we've eaten that entire bag of that snack that we packed. Or the best example I have is when we're at the movie theater and then all of a sudden we're grabbing for some more popcorn and there isn't anymore because we ate it all. Or if my 5-year-old is sitting on the couch and literally picks up the bag of pretzels and is like, where did they all go? And he ate them all. And so that is mindless eating. Other things that we do mindlessly when we eat could be driving. We could be eating in front of the TV. And so that we're not very present when it comes to actually consuming our food. And you might want to be like, well, why is that a big deal? Like, this is our society now, is we are on the go all the time. Well, what happens is that we have learned then to shut down our internal cues of hunger and satiety. Okay, satiety is that feeling of fullness. So think back, most of us are moms that are listening to this. Think back when we had a baby. And so maybe we felt that we had to feed that baby all of their formula or their breast milk, their bottle, or maybe they started eating solids, and what did we do is we made these airplane noises and we put food into their mouth because we wanted to make sure that our kids were getting all the food that we thought that they needed. Well, actually, our bodies have this internal cue that gives us this sense of fullness and this sense of hunger. And we have been programmed from the beginning of our little lives to ignore those. So munching mindfully is all about kind of getting back into those internal cues so that we can have a healthier life. So instead of forcing food or putting ourselves on a schedule, is really starting to hone in. We also see issues with emotional eating when it comes to not being mindful when we are eating, or maybe a little too mindful in a different way. And so maybe we have found comfort with our certain emotions, and that has been our go-to. So we're sad, we're angry, we're bored. So for us that work from home, maybe the only break that we get is we walk to the kitchen and we grab something to eat. Or we're sad and we turn to food. Or my favorite is I get my kids to bed and it's finally quiet and I want to indulge in something and sit on the couch and mindlessly eat that indulgence. So those are all of our situations of where we could be mindlessly eating. So getting into how do we get to become more mindful? The first step I always like is a head check and a gut check, okay? So that head check is, what is my emotional state? Am I hungry? Am I sad? What is happening in my current present time? Did I just walk past my coworker's desk and see that candy bowl? Did I walk past my kid's goldfish and say, I'll just take a handful? Okay, so that first is that head check of what's going on. Okay, the second is the gut check, so our stomach check, and that is, are we really hungry? Are we full? Believe it or not, most of us eat when we're not super hungry. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about engaging our hunger. So we like to use the term of a hunger scale. It's a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, 10 being like I am stuffed like Thanksgiving dinner, and 1 being like I am so hungry, I am hypoglycemic, I'm shaking, I will literally eat whatever you put in front of me. Okay, so 1 to 10. Most of us eat around a 5, but we should be eating more around a 3. Okay, so a 3 is when we start getting maybe a little bit of those tummy grumbles. We're not hangry yet. So we're not that angry because we're hangry, but we are ready to kind of eat. Our body's giving us some internal cues that it is time to consume some food. Okay, that 5 what most of us do is more of that graze. We're grazing, we see that delicious pizza commercial that came on and we're like, all right. Or we're out shopping and we're like, oh, I'll go through Starbucks and I'll get myself a latte and I'll go ahead and throw in that delicious pumpkin scone as well. Okay, so not saying that indulgences are a bad thing, but it's just being mindful of where they are. And so when we eat, we want to make sure of where we are mentally and then also where we are physiologically with our stomach. So if it's an appropriate time to eat, absolutely, let's eat. We never want to starve our bodies. Okay, but then when we go to eat, we want to try and be mindful when we are consuming. So mindful is that we are really taking in those senses, the smells, the taste, the texture of the food. We're engaging in maybe conversation with our family, with our children or our spouse or some girlfriends that we're going out with. It is not sitting there on Instagram scrolling and scrolling and scrolling or watching TV as we just kind of shovel the food in. By not allowing our senses to fully enjoy what we are doing, we are yet to get that sense of satiety and that fullness. Now let's talk a little science for a second. So you may have heard that it takes your stomach 15 to 20 minutes to tell your brain that it's actually full. That's correct. It does. So therefore, we want to be aware of that. So raise your hand, think about it. How quickly do you eat your lunch? How quickly do you eat dinner? I know when I go out to dinner with my kids, it's how fast can I get it in before one of them loses it and I have to leave. But when I go to dinner with my spouse, it's a 2-hour process. So try and start to practice what you can practice of taking your time with your meals, enjoying the senses. Some tips are take a bite of food, set your silverware down, conversate, have family dinner. How was your day? And each person take turns talking about their day. So slow down that eating process so that your stomach has time to tell your brain that it's nice and full. And you might find that you eat a lot less of that meal. Okay? So other things that you can do for that physiological fullness is make sure that you're nice and hydrated. Some science again, believe it or not, the first sign of thirst is hunger, okay? So when our bodies are dehydrated or they need hydration, they're not giving us this cue of thirst. It's actually giving us this cue of hunger. So check in and be like, wow, I haven't had any water. I'm notoriously horrible about drinking water. I could just drink coffee all day and maybe nothing else because I'm just go, go, go. But really try and focus in and set yourself a goal. If it's with your favorite water cup or get a cool water cup that you want to take around with you and that you make sure that you're hydrated, okay? So these are all things to make sure that it's going to help to get that feeling of fullness and to allow your body to feel that good sensation that's going to have you then consume less food or a more appropriate amount of food so that we don't get to that hunger scale of that opposite of that Thanksgiving dinner. Or when we get up and we're like, oh man, I gotta unbutton my pants because I ate so much out of a food baby going on. Okay, so really try, and there's this balance also on that flip side of fullness is we don't want to get to that 10. Okay, we want to be at a 7. We're comfortable, we're good, we're full, but we're not feeling sick from that fullness. So let's kind of go back to this head check. So I think this is really a big area that I work with individuals on, is a lot of times we know the science, we know that we shouldn't eat the goldfish, we know that we should put our fork down and all of these things, but sometimes our emotional piece is there. And that's okay. It's okay to have emotions when eating. But if you find yourself that when you're sad or you're stressed out, that you turn to food as a coping strategy, let's look at what are some different areas of opportunity that you can conquer. Okay, so if it's something that, can you call a girlfriend on the phone? Can you go for a walk? So think about what fits into your lifestyle and where that stress is coming from, and how can you do something instead of eating, doing something else. Okay, so that's the challenge if you are an emotional eater. And you can work with one of our dietitians. So a lot of our dietitians do specialize in what's called mindful eating and intuitive eating. And we're all registered and licensed here in the state of Pennsylvania to work with individuals. So if that's something that you feel like you struggle with, here's a few tips for it, but it is something that you may want to work with a dietitian on and to see if you can find other ways to cope with that stress or that sadness instead of turning to food. Okay. Others are when we look at that food is maybe we're a chronic dieter, or we've been kind of ingrained that ice cream is bad for us or candy is bad for us, and so we say no, 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 and then all of a sudden we find that we went to Dairy Queen with our kids and ate the gigantic blizzard. And so one thing, if that is happening and you feel like that is a situation for you that you want to work through, I have this rule in my house, I have this rule with my patients as well. No food is bad food. Okay, so let me say that again. No food is bad food. There's every once in a while food. There's our indulgent foods that are every once in a while. So I don't tell my kids that candy is bad, and my kids do eat candy. They also love broccoli, and that's okay. So we have that balance. So with yourselves, give yourselves permission to enjoy food, okay? And now let's tie this mindfulness into it. So I want you to think about a Hershey Kiss. It should take you some time to eat a Hershey Kiss. Not unwrap and put one in, unwrap and put one in. Challenge yourself today or tomorrow, and if it's a Hershey Kiss or a little Dove Square or whatever your indulgence is, be present. Take a minute, smell, feel the texture in your mouth. Allow it to melt in your mouth. Really get that flavor happening. And this can be done with salty foods as well. And you might find that senses is all you needed and you feel fantastic. You don't need to have 2 or 3 or 4, or maybe a couple bites of ice cream versus the entire container did just perfect for you. So that's part of being mindful when we are eating. So if we are going to indulge, give yourself that permission to do it, but try and do it in a way that isn't to where we are not present while we're doing it. And again, we'll find ourselves eating a lot less. Now, this takes practice, lots of practice. It's not going to come tomorrow, and not every day is going to be a perfect day. Okay, but so try that. Try the next time that you have an indulgence is changing the way that we think about it, that it's okay food, and trying to eat a little bit of it and absorb in all those senses. So recapping as we are talking of how to munch mindfully. Okay, so when we go to eat something, do a head check. What's my emotional state? Do a gut check. What's my physiological state? Am I really hungry? Am I dehydrated? Did I just get an impulse because I saw something delicious or I walked past something that smells great? And then with that, decide, what do you want to do about it? Do you want to eat it? And if so, slow it down, enjoy. And if not, do something instead. Okay, so don't tell yourself you're not going to do it. I'm not going to have any cookies today. I am going to go for a walk today. So changing the way that we think about things is kind of that psychology. So I'd mentioned in the beginning, I'm a health coach as well. And so taking that science, so that master's degree of nutrition, wrapping it into the psychology of behavior changes makes a perfect connection to be able to help people to work through those issues that we have, that all of us have, of that emotional eating or how we view food. All right, let's wrap this up. So hopefully you've got a couple takeaways that you can start to practice. Remember, it's practice. Try little mini experiments. Maybe you heard 1 or 2 things that will work out well for you. Start to put those into practice. Remember, we all have super busy lives. Give yourself some grace. Nobody is ever going to be perfect, but munching mindfully not only helps us live a healthier life, but it also helps be a role model for our kiddos too. So if you'd like to learn more about working with myself or one of our other fantastic dietitians, so we have 11 of them. So we work with individuals that have specific disease states such as like diabetes, heart disease, prediabetes. and then also disease prevention. But we also work with adolescents and individuals that have disordered eating or eating disorders. And then just for those who want to live a healthier life or maybe have some weight loss or get some healthy habits into place. So one fantastic thing is we take all major medical insurance, which is often covered at 100%. So check us out online. You can even schedule online or give us a call to the office. It's mainlinenutrition.org. So thank you so much. I hope y'all start munching mindfully and have a fantastic day.